All right, in Anna Maria Island, a mandatory evacuation order is in effect tonight.
Every single person that I talked to on those islands is leaving.
This is a very dangerous storm.
Anna Maria Island was among the areas hardest hit by the storm.
Anna Maria Island was completely underwater on Friday. Hurricane Helene pushed over 3 feet of Gulf waters into every home, hotel, and restaurant.
This wiped us out.
1 year ago, Anna Maria Island on Florida's Gulf Coast was hit hard from 2 directions. Hurricane Helene made landfall on September 26, 2024, near Perry in Florida's Big Bend region. Though that was nearly 180 miles north, Helene's size and strength sent unprecedented storm surge barreling along much of the Gulf Coast. Anna Maria Island was nearly entirely flooded by 3 to 5 feet of water. Then, less than 2 weeks later, on October 9th, Hurricane Milton added insult to injury when it made landfall just 20 miles south in Siesta Key as a powerful Category 3 storm. And today, I am back here to see how this little island has bounced back. What's been rebuilt, what's still healing, how everything looks, and how this place still holds on to its old Florida soul. Anna Maria sits just south of Tampa Bay, squeezed in between St. Petersburg to the north and Sarasota to the south. It's only 7 miles long, but it's one of the most unique beach towns in Florida. This isn't the kind of place with high-rise hotels and neon nightlife. It's the kind of place where you ride bikes to the beach, shop local, and watch the sunset instead of your phone. And after being hit first by a distant but powerful Helene, then by a more direct Milton, Anna Maria knew it had a big challenge ahead. But if there's one thing this island does well, it's coming back even stronger. This was the Rod Reel Pier, probably the most iconic landmark on Anna Maria Island. And it wasn't just a fishing pier, it was the soul of the island. It was the kind of no-frills seafood joint you'd dream of finding in old Florida. Creaky old wooden boards, salty air, and fried grouper sandwiches so fresh they were probably swimming in the morning. You could sit back, have a cheap beer while watching the pelicans and the dolphins swimming in the bay. It was a magical place. But Hurricane Milton, it took it out completely, swept it to sea, nothing left but splintered pilings and memories. It was such a symbol of the island that it even landed on the cover of the book, Visiting Small Town Florida. And I have my own copy of that book sitting right here in front of me. They're building a new land-based restaurant nearby, but whether this actual pier ever returns is anyone's guess, and it'll never be the same. Today, the site has become something pretty unexpected, a memorial. Locals and visitors leave gifts, trinkets, and handwritten messages to a piece of AMI's history that may never come back. And a few blocks away, the Anna Maria City Pier didn't escape Milton's wrath either. Hundreds of feet of walkway were ripped away by the storm, leaving only the restaurant at the end standing, almost like a literal island on an island. City leaders do say that a full rebuild of the city pier is planned, but these things do take time, so we're gonna have to be patient and see what happens. But just a few blocks inland, life seems surprisingly back to normal. Pine Avenue proudly calls itself America's greenest main street, a collection of small eco-friendly shops and restaurants that are almost entirely local. No chains, no logos, no strip malls, just small businesses, ice cream places, pizza, great donuts, all rebuilt and thriving again. While out here, I stopped into the general store, a quaint little place where locals and visitors alike can pop in for basic supplies like beer, wine, and ice cream, the essentials. And I grabbed a Cuban sandwich at the deli here that was outstanding and frankly kind of deserves its own recovery award. It was amazing. Well done, guys. Around here, you can still spot a few scars from the storm, but for the most part, Pine Avenue looks alive again. And you can tell people here take pride in keeping it that way. And right here on Pine Avenue, the Anna Maria Island Historical Museum might be small, but it's packed with stories, including its own. During Hurricane Helene, floodwater rose 3 feet high inside. The volunteers here showed me the water line and the cleanup photos to prove it. They even have a full part of the museum now that's dedicated just to the hurricane. And right behind the museum is one of Anna Maria's strangest landmarks, the old city jail. Built in the 1920s, it had no roof, no bars, and of course, no air conditioning. Basically, you'd get locked up in here just long enough for the mosquitoes to convince you to behave. Next door, a restored pioneer cottage tells a quieter story, how this place began as a fishing village long before tourists arrived, and today there's even a little kayak launch right behind it. proving that history and recreation can coexist in a place like this. While in this area, I stopped by the City Hall and the Island Players Theater, one of Florida's oldest community playhouses. Now, I didn't get a chance to go inside, but based on the calendar of shows they have lined up, it does look like they're back in the game as well. And outside City Hall is this mural, a well-intentioned but hilariously pixelated banner. It looks like they took a 4x6 postcard and tried to print it on a billboard. I'm gonna give them points for effort, and I do kinda like it. It shows they don't really take themselves too seriously around here. And hey, if you're enjoying this Florida adventure, please make sure to hit subscribe. I would sincerely appreciate that. I have a goal to hit 100,000 subscribers, and I am a little bit more than halfway there, and your support means the world to me. I cover everything across Florida, from the theme parks to the state parks to cool little beach towns like this. All right, let's keep going. Bean Point Beach at the very northern tip of the island is pure paradise. Honestly, this is arguably one of the prettiest beaches in Florida for me. Big, wide expanse of white sand that just seems to go on forever. No hotels, no crowds, just some very expensive beachside homes right here on the other side of the dunes. Powdery white sand, gentle waves, and on the day I visited, even a couple manatees right here off the beach. But don't get too excited about visiting here just yet. Parking at this beach is almost non-existent, which does keep it feeling like a locals only place. This beach is in a residential area with only a handful of spots on the street just outside the beach access point, so don't even try it on a weekend unless you're staying nearby and can ride your bike or you can walk here, which is how this entire town is best experienced anyway. And in this area of the island, among some very expensive real estate, I could still see some evidence of the ongoing rebuilding and recovery efforts. Roofing and drywall contractors in the area, the sound of nail guns in the distance pounding down fresh shingles a full year later, and whatever this used to be. Looks like a really large home or building that might have been entirely wiped out by Helene storm surge. All that's left down there is an old washer and dryer from what I could see. And from here at Bean Point, off in the distance a little bit, you can spot Passage Key just offshore. It's a tiny little bird sanctuary that's been nearly erased by centuries of hurricanes, and it's also earned a cheeky nickname by the locals, Naked Island. Yep, it's a wildlife refuge and a clothing-optional hangout for adventurous boaters. So be warned before you decide to take a kayak out there. Down the coast just away at Anna Maria Island Beach, life seems to have returned mostly to normal. The Sandbar Restaurant, a local favorite, is open again. It's lively, full of tourists, and back to serving sunset dinners in the sand. But nearby, I met the owners of Captain Anthony's Seafood, who told me a much tougher story. They suffered nearly $300,000 in damages when Helene hit. Their entire business and their home was almost entirely wiped out. They showed me photos of their flooded shop and of the world record-breaking fish they've caught over the years. I'm so sorry.
I'm a 7-time world record holder.
Are you really? This is your world record?
And my husband is 3 times, so I'm
what?
a 7-time.
So let me see. You got a world record for snapper, mutton.
Fish, yes.
What? Are you kidding me?
Yeah, and the world records. There's an out-of-state record. I have 5 ladies' world records for fish, and I have 2 all-tackle world records. An all-tackle world record means it was the biggest fish, man or woman, in the world. One of them is this fish right here.
What kind of fish is that?
That is a coronet fish.
I have never seen a fish like that.
Something people get confused as a trumpet fish.
Okay.
The end of its mouth opens up like a trumpet.
Okay.
And his eyeball's way down there, so his face looks like a trumpet. He hit a pinfish half the size of my hand, a live bait, and I had a double snapper rig on it, so I had a snapper on the bottom and him on the top.
Grace, I catch those when we go offshore fishing, and they're tiny.
Come over here and look at this world record gray snapper.
Okay.
Tell me it's tiny, okay?
No, the ones I catch are
this
tiny.
This is one of my African pompanos that I caught. And this is a world record gray snapper. That's a mangrove snapper, and the real name to it is the gray snapper.
So for reference, the ones I catch are like.
Look at my hand.
Yeah.
I got the sense that these two may be a few of the most famous people on the island among the locals, real characters. Their walls are lined with photos of celebrities they've fished with, but their real pride is survival. They said they stayed behind dealing with water that came up almost to their chest, and days later, pieces of their seafood business were found scattered all around the island and returned by locals. If there's a silver lining about hurricanes, it's kind of that everybody in the community really comes together and bonds to help each other out, whether it's just picking up fallen tree branches in your cul-de-sac or picking up your floating freezer that was found 3 blocks away. Holmes Beach looks great now, but these 2 high-rises, the Martinique condos, are the tallest buildings on the island. And when they were built, locals hated them so much they became the reason for a major ordinance banning high-rises altogether on the island. And thank goodness, because without that law, AMI might look a lot more like Clearwater Beach by now. There's also a rule limiting chain restaurants. Now there is a Dunkin' and a Domino's and a Publix and a CVS, but that's about it. Everything else here is locally owned. The island's leaders have worked hard to keep it that way, preserving that small town, old Florida feeling that makes this place so special. As for those condos, they're still showing some storm damage. I'm not saying the hurricane didn't try to knock them down, but if it did, maybe this part of the skyline would be even a little bit prettier. I'm just saying. And that's another thing that makes Anna Maria Island so different. You won't find any big hotel chains or high-rise resorts here. There's no Hilton, no Holiday Inn, not even a Margaritaville. But to many who come here, this is the real Margaritaville. Most of the places you're going to stay in here are small boutique inns, small hotels, beach cottages, Airbnbs, that kind of thing. Places built for quiet mornings, not crowded lobbies and big pool resorts. And that's what gives Anna Maria its soul, its sense of place. You don't come here for roller coasters or nightlife. You come here to slow down, leave the car in the driveway, and get around by bicycle or golf cart. There aren't a lot of typical Florida tourist traps here either. Sure, there's one mini golf course, but no water parks, no go-kart tracks, just boats, beaches, beers, local restaurants, and amazing sunsets. This is the kind of island where the best thing is to do nothing at all. Rent a bike, walk around, cruise around, go for a stroll on the beach, and just live like a local for a few days. Manatee Public Beach is back in full swing. There's volleyball courts, families, lifeguards, the works, everything you're going to want. Now this is the island's main public beach. There's a big cafe, picnic tables, restrooms, showers, all the amenities, and probably the largest lifeguard tower I've ever seen. Look at that thing. I've never seen a taller lifeguard tower than that. There's also a big parking lot right here off of Gulf Drive, but don't let that fool you. It is big, but it fills up fast, especially on the weekends. If you want a good spot, show up early or just ride the free trolley that runs up and down the island from a different spot. And an easy access mobility mat makes getting across the sand a lot less of a struggle, especially if you're hauling beach gear or traveling with kids. Dragging a cooler through the sand is no fun, and this makes it just a little bit easier. And just a few miles south is Coquina Beach. This is a public beach that's quieter, it's more laid back, and it is shaded by really tall pine trees. It's a little bit more popular with locals. It has long walking paths and a bay walk that winds through mangroves on the bayside. So if Manatee Beach is sort of the social hub of beach life around here, Coquina is more of the quieter, more laid back place to chill out, spread out, and watch the boats drift by. And down near the southern end of the island, Bridge Street is the heart of the island's restaurant, bar, and social scene. This is an area that has a lot of bars, restaurants, little beach shops, fudge and ice cream places. At the end, you're going to find the Bridge Street Pier, which did take some damage during the hurricanes, but it has since been repaired and reopened. This pier is once again full of people fishing, taking walks along the water, and grabbing dinner at the Anna Maria Oyster Bar at the end. It's one of those local spots that somehow feels both touristy and authentic. But the real legend here is the Drift Inn. This dive bar turns 100 years old this October, and it has quite the backstory. As the story goes, baseball legend Babe Ruth was a regular here back in the day. And after a long night of drinking, he walked out without paying his tab. The next morning, he came back to settle his tab, and instead of just settling the bill, he decided to just buy the whole place. That's quite a move. The keys changed hands over a round of beers, and Ruth owned the Drift Inn for a few years as a tribute to his father, who also owned a bar. For decades, this was a locals-only dive bar, the kind of place that smells like old beer, bait, and bad decisions. Now these days, it's still a dive bar, just a much more friendly one that's more friendly to tourists and anyone else who wants to swing in. They even built a tiki bar right outside. I wonder what Babe Ruth would have thought about that. Babe Ruth memorabilia covers the walls in this place, which has sort of become almost a shrine to him. So 1 year later, Anna Maria Island still bears some of the marks of Hurricanes Helene and Milton. You're going to see some damaged signs, some half-repaired roofs, some crews working on drywall, but the beaches are open, the businesses are busy and back to normal, and the community, just like the tides, just keeps coming back. So what happened to Anna Maria Island? It got knocked down twice and stood right back up. This is Florida's most resilient little island, still charming, still local, and still one of the most beautiful places in the Sunshine State. And thanks for watching. Don't forget to leave a like, it really helps other people find this video, and subscribe for future Florida adventures from the theme parks to the state parks. Until the next one, please stay safe out there, and I will see you around the Sunshine State.